Welcome back to the 30 Days to Happiness podcast. I have Kateesha Hemrau here today. I actually spoke in one of her events. Well, I don't know how long ago it was now,
Oh,
but it was
it would have been about 18 months ago, actually.
oh gosh, it felt like so long ago, but like both of us have evolved and changed so much
But
since then. But she's got such a like awesome, I guess, growth story. And I'm really keen for you guys to hear it. Like with her businesses, she's like, you're young, you're a go-getter, you're a boss lady. But just seeing you, she's a really good networker, everyone. She's like an amazing networker. Anyway, I just wanted to get her on the podcast today to share her year of how she pretty much built, created, and planned the happiest year of her life and what has changed, the ups and the downs, and how we can learn from her as a young business owner. But welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so keen to have a quick chat today. So, do you want to just share with us a little bit about, I guess, like where were you, 12, 18 months ago when you first started? Because I remember like you moved to the Gold Coast. You still the Gold Coast?
Yes, I am. I am still
Yeah.
on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, I remember you moved to the Gold Coast and you're like, I'm going all in on this. And tell us where you were, like, I guess, from that transition to the story of where you are kind of now.
Yeah, of course. So originally I'm from North Brisbane, so now north of Brizzy. And it was end of 2022, it must have been. Are we in 23 now?
Yeah, that's a bit like that. I'm
Oh my gosh. So So no, it wasn't end of 2022, it was end of 2021, sorry. I decided to move to the Gold Coast. I needed a change of scenery. And I had this idea to create a networking group where I could bring together business owners and professionals to work out and network. Originally, it was called Boss Club. We then rebranded to Fit to Scale, and that was an incredible experience. It was a great way for me to one, expand my network on the Gold Coast because I didn't really know anyone here. But two, honestly, I found my second family. Like I came to the Gold Coast not knowing anyone, and I truly have, found another family here that I'm so grateful for. So it's been quite the ride since then. We kicked it off. It must have been about March, April last year, and I think you were the second person actually, Holly, I interviewed at the event. I think I
Awesome.
had Morgan for the first event, and then you must have been the second one. And there were just so many lessons from it. And like I guess I'll not gatekeep and share all of the challenges and failures that I had with it. But I
Yeah.
remember like in the early days, some of the biggest things was, I was running it fortnightly and trying to get commitment from people to show up fortnightly was so hard. So we
Mm.
transitioned to weekly. And it was one of those things where, like, each week I would sit down and I would work out, okay, what went really well this week? What didn't? And it was very much a journey. I remember there was one week in the early days where I had two people show. And it was so devastating because you put so much time and effort in. But I knew I was onto something, so I persisted, and we grew. And then we sort of got to the end of last year. It would have probably been actually would have been about this time last year,
Mm.
and I just wasn't happy with the growth and, stressing as well too because I had to make an income from it. And I thought, how do I fix this? Because I don't know what else to do. And fortunately, because I have such a big network, I was able to pull together a board of advisors. So I pulled together a board and I sat down with them. I said, look, I'm going to be really vulnerable here and just share. Like the business isn't going as great as I wanted it to, and I want to learn how I can, really improve it. They gave me all their advice. I went away and implemented it. We transitioned from Boss Club to Fit to Scale. We went through the rebrand. We ended up running it from the beach, which was a really positive thing for the group. Like that really helped grow it. And then where it went, I'd say downhill in the sense of everything happens for a reason, but where it sort of started to die off was winter. Now, I know that sounds weird, but Fit to Scale was getting run at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Do you know how many people wake up at 5 a.m. in the middle of winter?
Yeah, winter changes everything, and also like people's like mindsets change as well. It's almost
Yes,
like some people go into hibernation and they're just like, no, I'm not gonna do anything.
100%.
Like, yeah.
100%. So it was sort of, we got into winter, we had to transition from outside indoors, just because it was so dark for one. Like it wasn't even bright. Like the sun wasn't rising until 6:30. So the first half an hour was dark. So we transitioned indoors, and it just wasn't the same. Like the outdoors experience was so magical. Like we were on the beach doing yoga or playing volleyball or doing boxing. It was such an experience. And I guess from that, going indoors, the numbers dying off, and then my other business, BeKnown, really taking off. That was when I sort of had to make the call. It would have been about 2 months ago
Mhm.
to sadly shut Fit to Scale down, which was a really devastating thing to do. But I sort of had to reevaluate where I was at with all my businesses, and BeKnown. One was the revenue generator. I was making really good money with BeKnown. Um, and it probably had more legs on it, and it's not to say Fit to Scale couldn't have worked. So for every 40 people I reached out to, 10 might have committed to coming, and then one showed. It's just wild, like the numbers that you had to drive in order to actually get people there. And I had to weigh it up, and it just wasn't worth the time investment when, I was getting these new clients through BeKnown. They were paying me thousands of dollars a month. And it just got to a point where I was like, I need to like reevaluate and um,
Wow.
focus on BeKnown.
Yeah. So why did you call it Be Known?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I only advertised it about 6 weeks ago, purely because I didn't have a name for the business. I know that's really terrible, but I was like, "I'm not promoting this until I have a name."
Fair
And
enough.
it came from the realization of, I guess, I was in my car one day driving, and I thought to myself, "What do I do for my clients?" I was like, "I make them known."
Yeah, wow, I love
And
that.
be known. So whenever I talk to somebody, one of the questions I ask them is, "What do you wanna be known for?"
Yeah. I
To the
love
wider
that. That's
community.
so cool. That's awesome. And how, like, so it's like a marketing, is it a marketing agency? Is that what you're running at the moment?
Yeah, so the first sort of 9 months, it was very much so, it was a combination of marketing, lead gen, and sales. So I was, creating personal branding strategies, I was creating content, I was doing lead gen, and then I had a couple clients that I was closing sales for as well too, on their behalf. So I did that for 9 months, and that was all, like, great, got great results for clients. But like obviously it's not sustainable as well. So I had to revisit my model. And
Mm,
then when I launched Be Known publicly to everyone, I had just had an influx of inquiries for me to like coach or consult bigger organizations around their personal branding strategy. And that's
yeah,
very much the pathway. I've still got clients that I create content for, and I help them execute lead generation strategy. But very much moving forward, it will be down that coaching pathway.
yeah, I love that. It's so great. And like they say, like, to pick one, like when you got a lot going on and you're trying to figure out who you're targeting and, you know, like who's your ideal client? It's either relationships, wealth, or health, really. It's like only those one of those three. And when you really think about it, it makes you really go, all right, well, how can I transition everything to pick one rather than all? So what was the turning point for you? Because I remember, it's interesting, I literally remember you were carrying these heavy speakers and I was like, oh, you want some help? And you're like, yeah, I'm all right. And you're like putting it in the back of your
Oh my gosh.
and you're
I
like, one day when I have, hundreds of people showing up to my events, I'll think about this moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps now. But I remember that and I was like, oh, that's why I've loved watching you and see you evolve. Because I knew you had such a great vision for what you wanted, even though it may have changed. So what was the turning point for you? Did you get really burnt out? Like,
Oh,
what happened?
absolutely. Yeah, burnout, like, I'm really feeling it, I have to admit, at the moment. So I 'cause there were a lot of factors as well too that's happened, I guess, in the last 6 to 12 months from a personal level. Like, from March, what was it? March, April, May, I had nowhere to live. So
Wow.
I had 3 months where I was either driving back from my parents, so I was getting up at 3:30 in the morning and driving 2 hours to the Gold Coast and then driving back after a full day of work, or I was, like, sleeping on girlfriends' couches.
Mm.
And That has just caught up to me, weirdly enough, in the last month or two, where it's really hit me hard just from a fatigue level, because now that I'm settled in my new home,
Yeah.
you have a couple of months of like adjusting, and then it really hits you. So that was also another reason why I decided to shut Fit to Scale down, because I wasn't enjoying it, to be honest with you. I was just riddled with anxiety around, are we going to get the numbers? I didn't want to be disappointing my members. I want to be providing services that I'm proud of as well. And it was getting to a stage where I think the very last week, which was when I made the call, I
Mm.
think I had 4 or 5 people show, and it just wasn't enough. And I thought, I can't keep killing myself trying to put these events on while running BeKnown. I just need to call it, and it may be something that I revisit in a couple of years' time. When I've got
Yeah.
50K that I'm happy to throw into the marketing side of things, because that was my biggest downfall, was I didn't have the cash from that business to
Yeah.
inject into the
But you
marketing.
knew that.
What was that? Sorry, Holly.
Great that you knew that though. Because a lot of people don't know where their downfall is, and then they give
Oh,
they're like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I just decided not to do it. But at least, you would have learned so much in the process.
Oh, absolutely. And you got to take ownership as well too. There's lots of people that would have been in my boat that would have just curled up in a ball and just, called it quits.
Mm.
And just even the way I had to handle calling all the members and telling all the members I was shutting down, and then working out, how I was going to refund like their memberships. That in the moment, that's humiliating. Like, I have to like admit, that is so, like, as a business owner, that's such an embarrassing point of your entrepreneurship journey, because you feel like a failure. But
Yeah.
on the other side of that, I felt so much relief knowing that I could put all my energy now into BeKnown. And
Yeah.
it's something that people don't talk about. I feel like we all talk about the wins and how amazing entrepreneurship is, but nobody talks about like the shame or the embarrassment that comes from when things don't go well.
Yeah, wow. It's so great you mentioned that because no one does. Like no
No,
one podcast has talked about that, right? Like yeah, there's the highs and the lows of
oh,
success. And you can be like, yeah, I was sleeping on the couch, my friend's couch, I was trying to find somewhere to live in that. But the vulnerable side of it, as like my business is not going well, but on social media, it looks like I'm making a
amazing.
killing. That side of things, right? We're all happy as entrepreneurs to share our story, right? Of like everything that happens to us because people can relate. But you are so right. I rarely hear people speak about saying, hey, my business is actually not going very well. Even when you got everyone together, the board, and just explain to them like, hey, it's not where I want it to be. Like first thing I thought, I was like, wow, that takes a lot of balls.
I was gonna say, it's funny, I've got a presentation this Wednesday, I'm speaking in front of a school, and the thing I'm gonna leave them with is, like, all about being brave. Like,
Mm,
being brave to give things a go, but also be brave to admit when things aren't working,
mm,
because you cannot do business alone, and that's something I've really truly learnt over the last 18 months, and
yeah.
that's why it's so important to build your network, because when things aren't going so great, you need to leverage that.
100%. 100%. Love that. And okay, let's just say you got burnt out, right? I'm sure we've all been as entrepreneurs burnt out a few times. What are some things that have really helped you? I think firstly that comes to mind for you is removing all distractions, like I was saying with myself and my businesses, and focusing on what is generating, the most income and what you really want to be doing in the next 10 years. But like for you personally, what were some really big, I guess, personal development things or realizations that helped you overcome like the burnout?
Yeah, so I want to be really vulnerable here, actually. It
Mm,
was so 2 weeks ago, I woke up and I've just been really struggling with my fatigue. So I've not been sick, like in the
yeah.
sense of like flu sick, but getting to a point where I was struggling to get out of bed in the morning.
Um,
Like, just really feeling really down mentally because I was physically not feeling well.
mm,
And I just woke up one morning and I was meant to see this doctor, but I kept putting it off. And
yeah.
I thought, you know what? Book in and see her. And I went and saw her that day. She gave me like all the supplements, gave me a B12 shot.
Yeah.
And I'm like getting back, with my food and everything. But
Good.
then there's also, it was really ironic because there were some things that I knew that I needed to work on personally. And I was like, okay, like it might be time for me to actually just go and see like a psychologist and work through some things that are coming up for me at the moment.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling really down about it. And then 2 hours later, you messaged me. I
Oh,
don't really cry, but you messaged me and you were like, I'd love to have you on the podcast about, all about happiness. And that day I booked to see a doctor because I wasn't feeling very happy. And I thought, how can I get, interview on a podcast about happiness? But then I thought, you know what, this is something people don't share. And that's,
yeah.
you know, happiness is a choice. And
Is.
that's, and I truly believe that because even though you may be feeling really down, you have to make that choice to go and do the things that will make you feel better. And I know how hard it is at times. Like it was hard for me to go to the doctor and it just, book in, and it's hard for me to, wake up and go to bed at consistent times. But I do those things because I know that it will make me happy.
Yeah. 100%. Wow. I just literally got goosebumps and I'm on the verge of crying.
I was ready to cry, but it was like it was so
Beautiful.
ironic. Like, life has been playing some really big jokes on me lately. I got asked to speak at a school about entrepreneurship the week I shut Fit to Scale down.
Wow.
And it just shows you like, you just gotta keep showing up and you've just gotta small efforts each day. And, even though you may not feel like a winner every day, as long as you're giving your best, then that's all that
Yeah.
matters.
Wow. Isn't that interesting though? Like it is ironic and I feel like those things are there to show us and to push us and to keep showing up, right?
100%.
Like, for example, like you may have thought, all right, well, we'll speak about happiness. I've got to, choose to be happy, right? And be vulnerable and be okay with that. And it kind of forces you, hey, to show up, which is cool. But no, I really appreciate you sharing that. And it's interesting. The reason I like reached out to you was just like I had a really intuitive feeling that you should come onto the podcast. So that's when I reached out to you. So it's funny how the universe really
Oh,
aligns.
it's just so
Um,
weird. I just like booked the appointment and then 3 hours later you messaged me. I thought,
that's
this is the
amazing.
universe
I
is
love that.
playing tricks on me. But no, look, there's definitely lots of things you can do to help you. I mean, I've done a lot of work over the last 18 months around like sound healing and yoga and, Reiki and things like that. So there's a lot of non-conventional things that you can do, which I've really heavily explored over the last 18 months, that I've found really helpful. But yeah, I think it's also making sure you can find happiness in every day in little moments. And it might not be, you could be feeling really low and then you might go for a walk and you walk past a golden retriever. It's like,
Yeah.
day mate. It's just about finding those small moments.
It is 100%. And do you have like a daily ritual that helps you with these small moments?
I don't know if I would say I have a daily ritual, but I like where I live, it's very isolated. So I'm out in the middle of the valley in a little tiny home living on my own. And I also work from home too. So it's very beautiful, but it can get very lonely at times. So I make a conscious effort to always leave my house once a day. So
Oh,
whether that's, going to the beach for a walk, whether that's going to a yoga class or seeing a friend for dinner, I always make a conscious effort to get out of the house. And that was one of the reasons why I went and saw the doctor because I was so fatigued. I
yeah.
physically couldn't get myself out of the house. And I just know like that's when things really go downhill very quickly. So I thought, no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get on top of this now, get
Mm,
my energy back, and then I know I'll be, back to
yeah.
back
Wow.
to gold.
Yeah, so good that you took that step though, and you actually like went and did it. I actually just shared this on my Instagram story. Like last week, I was really sick, and so was Bob. And I
Oh,
remember I was just laying in bed, and I was in such a negative headspace, which is really unusual for me. So and I'll watch Dr. Joseph Dispenza on TikTok. It was one of his videos. I love him. I think he's amazing. And he was just talking. I used to do this, and I hadn't done it in a while. And he was just talking about how to change your mindset and change the neurotransmitters and change your physiological feelings in your body and everything to visualize who you actually want to be before you get out of bed and what that person would do, so the doing side of it. So I, instead of getting up and being like depressed and being like sounding depressed to everyone I talk to, so they feel sorry for me, all those little things, right, that I could have done. But instead I got up and I was like, all right, I visualized the person, would get Bub up, feed her, put some music on, make a coffee, do my favorite work, read a book, go do some exercise, get outside, go into the sun. I did all those things that are in my book, 30 Days to Happiness. Right? I did all the things I
I
was
love
supposed
that.
to do. Yeah, right. And just by visualizing that and making the decision to choose happiness and to choose who I wanted to become and choose that successful version of myself, game changer. And I'll forever keep doing that exercise. And
It's so It's so
100.
weird you bring that up because this morning I literally recorded this voice note to myself that I'm gonna listen to every morning when I wake up because I had my coach sent me this really beautiful voice note and I listen to it quite regularly actually, just so it really cements into my brain. And I've just had I think it stemmed from that, but I had an epiphany just in the last couple of weeks and it's come from that. It's come from that voice note. It's so powerful.
Oh, that's amazing. It's amazing. It's like even listening to high vibration music will help you,
Oh,
you
yeah, you
train
have
your
to send me
neurotransmitters
some
is really good.
playlist.
Yeah, high vibration music's really good. And then, yeah, anything that can reconstruct your subconscious mind, the more you listen to it, the more you're training your brain to believe it, right? And that's what my whole book is about, right? It's reconstructing how you think, feel, and see things. So to wake up happy every day. So I think I totally agree with that, and it works. It 100% works. The only reason people don't see if it works is they don't do it.
Yeah, so that's the thing, it's making that commitment, and I only just filmed it this morning. I was laying in bed, I was like, "Oh, a good time to, yeah, quickly film this one."
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. So you said you live in a small home by yourself, and you work from home currently. Where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Where's your 10-year
Oh,
vision?
traveling.
You
Like,
want
travel is a really big, value of mine, so, the next sort of 12 months, I really wanna do well, 12 to 24 months, I wanna be traveling all around Australia. And
wow.
then once I've done that, then I'm out of here. I'm overseas. I'm a bit of an odd chick in the sense I don't see myself having kids, and if I were, it wouldn't be, for another 10 more years. And I'm at the prime of my life in the sense that I've got no
100%.
responsibilities, I've got no mortgage, I'm a single gal, so I don't have a partner that I have to worry about. There's
Yeah.
so many like I've got so much freedom right now, and I plan on keeping my. I would love to find a husband. Just throwing that out
If
there.
anyone is available.
Yeah, if anyone's available to be my husband, just shoot me a message. No, look, I would love to. I would love to find a man, but also happy. Very happy on my own
Yeah.
and going out and exploring. So in
Uh,
terms of, I guess, from a company 10-year vision,
yeah.
I don't know if I can reveal that just yet. It's gonna get revealed on LinkedIn very soon, in about a month.
Right. Everyone can read that post. It's going to be just like
Pretty big.
awesome. So we've already talked about momentum, but for those people who are feeling stuck, like you've been there, done that, and you've made a choice to pick one business over the others. I feel like I was in a very similar situation with my personal training side of things, like even with BizFit. So I literally got rid of all my face-to-face clients and then launched my online all at the same time. And then I had to make a choice at the start of this year to get rid of BizFit completely. And this business I've been working on for so long and built up a massive membership portal, decide to just move it aside, for the time being. And it like broke my heart in a way because I'm like, all this effort and work, but I knew that that was in alignment with this new season. So how do you go about making, I guess, critical decisions when you're facing challenges?
I would say backing yourself first. And this relates back to that epiphany that I was talking about I had recently. I'm a real panicker. So
Okay.
I panic. I'm a stressor. Slightest thing goes wrong, and oh my goodness, what do I do? And over the last, I guess, month, I've really just sat in a space of realizing that after 3 years of challenges and failures, I always figure it out.
Mm.
I don't know how, but I do. And so it's knowing that, you will figure it out. And if you can't do it on your own, ask for help.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Appreciate appreciate my story and vulnerability around the shame and embarrassment of when things don't go well. It happens to all entrepreneurs. They're just not telling you.
Yeah.
They're just telling you the good parts.
Mhm.
And I think that's, where we go wrong lifting each other up is it's just constant sharing of wins, and you're sitting there going, I
Mm.
can't even pay for my groceries this week. What am I doing wrong? And it's not spoken about enough. So
Mm.
you need to build a network of amazing business leaders around you. And that's something that I have done over the years,
Yeah.
where when things not going great, you can pick up the phone and give them a call and go, what do you think I should do? And
Yeah.
there's also it's okay to admit defeat as well. I had to admit defeat with fixed scale and go, this just isn't working. And that is completely okay as well. Also, like, I'm very stubborn too. I probably should have let it go a bit earlier, but I didn't. And that ties into being stubborn, but it also ties into being emotionally attached. And
Yeah.
that's something you have to do
Huge.
as well is really remove the emotion from it. And if you're an upcoming entrepreneur as well, emotion around the business itself, but also emotion around money too. You
Mm.
really have to separate feelings that you have around money, because the more you stress about it, the less you will see of it.
Isn't it crazy how like that law works?
It's
Um,
so bizarre, but when I've been calmest and told myself, the universe will look after me, money is coming my way, that's when I make absolute bank. But when things go slightly wrong and I stress out, then before you know it,
mm,
things just start to spiral. So, and
so
that
interesting.
it takes a while to learn too. Like I'm only just learning that, 3 years into the journey now about being calm and cool. It's okay. Money's coming. New clients are coming.
Yeah, 100%. And like the thing is, when you are in a low, like you see very low in your bank account, that stresses people out, gives us anxiety. So therefore we do panic. But when we have lots of money in our bank account, where it's a lot easier to just say, money comes easily and effortlessly to me. You know what I mean? So learning to actually have that mindset and the same feeling and emotion that you're attracting in when you do have low in your bank account, I think that's like for me personally, that's been probably the hardest thing when it comes to
It is the hardest part of entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
without a doubt. The hardest part is your mindset and your mindset around money, because
Mm,
you don't get taught. You
no.
don't get taught how to like disattach from money and an outcome from a sale and whatnot. So yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about, and something I have paid or invested, I should say, invested a lot of money into a coach helping me, navigate those thoughts and feelings around like money mindset.
Mm. Oh, it's so good once you finally kind of feel like you get it in a way.
Yes.
And
Very cool.
I remember I read Jen Sincero's book, I'm a Badass at Making Money. That was one of the books that absolutely changed my life. This was back in 2020, 21,
I
and
read that in 2022.
crazy, hey, it changed my life. I was literally like, I wrote all these affirmations on that white.
Love it.
I think it was that whiteboard. Yeah, might have been that whiteboard. Literally put it in my room. Um, and I was living with someone at the time, like this chick, then we didn't get along. Um, anyway, she probably like every time she saw it, she's like, what the heck was that? But anyway, I was like saying these affirmations morning and night, and I would have it on repeat and I would memorize them and I'd go for walks and just speak them. And literally, as soon as I started doing that, 2 months, actually, I've got a little like reel coming out how I did this, but 2 months later, I pretty much doubled my income.
Insane. It's honestly so insane.
Crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And I remember sitting there and I was like, I need money right now. And I messaged
Oh,
every single person in my community. And I think it was just the realization that, all right, well, I need to do something. And then actually having abundance.
yes.
I think that's another thing as well. Instead of sitting down stressing, you do have to take action, but you also do have to be grateful all at the same time and let go. It's like, how do we do all of this all at once?
Oh, it
But
can be overwhelming because you get in your head as well. Like I know I do. And
Oh,
my coach is constantly saying to me, like, "Get out of your head and your body, like, stop,
I know,
overthinking
right?
things." He's
Mm.
like, "You said the done."
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a tough one. But are you currently living your happiest life right now? Would you say?
I would say, it's interesting. I don't know if I would say I am living my happiest life right now, if I'm gonna be honest. I
Mm,
think it's a combination of just I'm at the pointy end of burnout, so I'm just coming through that.
mm,
And, uh, I've definitely, how do I put it? It's a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster, honestly. I don't know if that's just me. I feel like it's entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurs would be lying if they said they were happy 24/7. I'm starting to feel better because I'm discovering recently what my bigger purpose is, and that's
mm,
getting me more excited. So I'm
yeah,
putting in a lot of the foundations now for some really big plans for next year. And I know you shouldn't say, "Oh, next year will be the happiest year of my life," and, it's not as though I can't be happy right now, and
mm,
there's definitely periods where I am happy, but there's also periods where I'm stressed. I had to laugh at one of you. I laughed at one of your questions. I think it was on the email you sent. It was, "What are the things that keep you going?"
yeah.
When times are tough, and I laughed because the first thought I came to mind was the debt, the debt I have to pay off.
Yeah,
That's
wow. But isn't that true? Like, kind of, like,
if I'm gonna be honest,
yeah,
you could say it's sunshine and rainbows, but my first thought was, "Oh, I got," I don't have huge amounts of debt, and I was like, "Oh, I'd love to get that debt paid off." And then, next year is really all about me and, funneling money into things that I want to do for myself. So right
wow,
now I'm in the trenches. Right now I'm in the building phase.
yeah.
But I'm setting myself up for next year, and I'm really excited for that.
To scale it. Beautiful. I love that. And last question, what is like a few step-by-step processes for people? Like, what is your step-by-step process to building the best or the happiest year of your life? What are some key components to that?
I think it's not being afraid and admitting what you actually want for life first.
Mm,
I think people are very scared to admit what they want, and then they just live a really mundane life. And
yeah.
I look at them and think, "What a waste." I never forget, this is a bit of a random story, but I used to volunteer at an aged care home, and I sat with a man one morning who was dying. He was on his last days, and
Oh,
I said something to him along the lines of, like, "Do you love living here?" And the place was no ritz, like, it was not a really lovely, it wasn't a nice facility. And he
yeah.
looked at me and he said, "You get what you pay for in life." And
Wow.
that just broke my heart, and it stayed with me, like, it will stay with me forever, and it just shows you, don't let life slip away, so figure out what you want from life and be relentless.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing, just be relentless, keep going, keep working, and the other steps, a couple things I'm just thinking about what I've actually saying in my
Yeah.
presentation on Wednesday. Learn sales.
Mm,
If you're gonna be if you wanna own a business, sales skills are so underrated. You will not have a profitable business if you don't learn how to sell. So
yeah.
that would be probably one of the biggest pieces of advice. And selling is just communication. So you need to learn how to communicate really well.
100%. 100%.
And then I would also say, yeah, the network, having a network of really amazing people around you is also really important, and making sure you look after yourself because
Mm,
your business doesn't operate if you're not.
100%. Wow. I love all those key components. Communication is so key. I was actually talking about this with my husband the other day. He's like, if you can't communicate, you don't have a business.
Exactly. No,
Which
you really
is so
don't.
true. So true, right? And I love that you are helping people communicate that
Yeah,
through, their branding and even your branding. Like you've got red nails, red lipstick, red
I
jacket.
know.
Love it.
I know. I have to be on brand. Every time I go somewhere, I think to myself, "Oh, I've got to wear red. I've got to be on brand."
Very
But yeah, gotta practice what you preach.
I love that. No, it's a key component and it's very important as a coach. So thank you so much for jumping on. Is there any last little bit of advice you would give to our happy audience?
I think just, choose. choose happiness in each day
Yeah.
and choose good people. Honestly,
Mm.
I have been blessed with the people that have been in my life, and have fun. I've probably not had as much fun as I could have. I've been very head down, bum up, and I've realized now that you actually need to live while you grow a business as well. So make sure you separate that time.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. This has been so great. And so there's been some great golden nuggets in here that people can take. And it's interesting seeing and hearing everybody else's step-by-step process to building their happiness life because it's different for everyone. Last season, I asked everyone what their definition of happiness is. And every single definition was completely different, which I
Oh, I love
absolutely love.
that.
But same with the step-by-step process. So thank you so much for jumping on. I appreciate you. Where can people find you?
Yeah, probably the easiest place would be LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn gal, so if you
Mhm.
just pop in Kateesha Hembro, I won't be hard to find. I can't imagine there's too many Kateesha Hembros out there.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for jumping on and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ollie.